Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where we talk about TV shows as a supernatural fantasy and or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Roswell, New Mexico. Holy crap, a lot went down in this episode, so let's break everything down. First of all, we get introduced to Max's partner, who's played by Riley. I'm just looking at how it's pronounced, I'm guessing Vocal or maybe like Vocal. Either way, it's the actress who played Freya on the originals, which is trippy to me because I'm like, what? I swear there was something else. I feel like I vaguely remember I saw her in something else too, because I remember going like, hey, that's Freya from the originals, but I swear there was something else, but I can't remember what it was I saw her in. But nevertheless, I was like, what? It's like, come on, this is literally three actors who are connected to the Vampire Diary universe, which is so interesting because I'm going to be skipping around, but like, her and, Matt kind of hook up at the end, and it's kind of funny because it's just kind of like, because he played Jackson, and Jackson was married to Haley, and Haley was part of the Michelson family, and, Freya's the big sister in the family. It just makes it kind of funny and weird just to think about it in the long run of things. It's just kind of interesting what kind of floats in the back of my head. But, yeah, that was pretty crazy that she's in this, because I saw her name, I was like, hey! But other than that, they ended up kind of tracking this all back to potentially the guy that might have been behind shooting Liz, and it's this dude named Wyatt. Wyatt, it turns out, is the sibling to one of the ladies that died because of the whole Rosa situation. Now, what is really interesting is, like, it seems like it's a combination of just hate because of what happened to his family, but also it just seems like pure unadulterated racism at its best, of just kind of like, oh, like, send him back to Mexico and blah, 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 and that whole situation. But, he's kind of making... I mean, obviously, you can't... I'm not trying to get political or anything like that, but you can make parallels to it, because it's like, oh, if they weren't in this country illegally, my sister would still be alive. That argument, which I'm not saying he's the only one that feels like that, that's an argument that obviously you can tell that's meant to be a parallel to real life, because that's kind of a statement that's kind of been thrown around in some regards. So, it's, like I said, I'm not trying to get political. It was just kind of a rough thing to kind of hear in that regard and stuff. Even to the point later on he's beating up, Liz's dad. And I mean, that's the sad thing too, because it's like, it's not like him and Liz had anything to do with it. Like, if anything, like, but it's like, Rosa's not here for all your hate to be pushed towards. So, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, is he pure unadulteratedly racist and he just happens to have a reason to hate them? Or is he hating them and he just, the racism, because that has to come from somewhere. That doesn't just come from nowhere. So, but the sad thing is, it's like, they're suffering for it because, like, he has no other outlet to displace his hate. So, but beating on someone like that, literally three of you versus an older man like that, I mean, it's kind of a good thing Max kind of kicked your ass. But that is kind of an interesting element to this too, is that Max more and more has been kind of losing his temper. And the fact is that Isabel's so shocked by it, because she's like, oh, so we're punching, you're punching Michael now? It's like, Michael literally just did a supercharged push on him last episode. He's not allowed to get a little punch in, but I guess that's supposed to be representative of the fact is that Max isn't very violent or something, for Isabel to kind of look at him and think like his behavior is very abnormal, which is interesting. But even to the point, like, he caught up to Wyatt, he was just beating his face in, things got bloody, to the point he started using his power, and I guess was going to try and kill him. I'm curious, is it a situation like Max can heal people, but maybe he can also take life too? Because his power works on some, like, electromagnetic, I guess so, on some electro or wavelength level, because, like, the moment he started clenching his fist, when they first met up with Wyatt, like, it started messing with the radio. Obviously, it affects lights and stuff like that. So maybe it affects something inside of the body on some, like, maybe the electrons or something in the body. I don't know. Like, we still don't know 100% of how that whole situation works. I did appreciate the fact is that, is her name Cam, or is it like Sam? I think he said Cam, but I could be wrong. I did like that she embarrassed Wyatt too, because it's like, oh, bam, bam, he shoots two of the three cans. She shoots her three cans, his one can, and then shoots the tire to his vehicle, and it's like, oops. And it's like, you could have done that, but Max is like, I told you, I'm a real feminist. She's like, but you wanted him to get beat by a girl. And it's like, oh yeah, just to kind of make it sting just that bit more so. All the while, because all this is kind of getting stirred up because it is the 10-year anniversary of Rosa's death. And it's kind of interesting because Liz and her dad have very different outlooks to this whole situation. Her dad doesn't look at just the bad stuff about Rosa. He knows that there was so much more to her beyond just the bad. It's like, oh yeah, you know, this booth over here where your mom taught her how to play guitar and this and that. But Liz, she just focuses on like the negative because it's just, she harbors so many, because for her, it's like everything that Liz, for Liz, everything that Rosa might have, like, whatever her truth was, it died with her, and that just makes it so much more aggravating because she wants answers, especially when her dad's like, no, you got to forgive her, because if you don't, these ghosts will be following you for the rest of your life, essentially. So, even to the point she's even like, yeah, coming to church used to kind of make her actually feel comfortable, but she's someone who dives into science and fact, and she used to kind of believe in a higher power, but she doesn't anymore. And she actually brings up an interesting question. She asks Max, it's like, do you believe in God? And he talks about the fact that he's read a lot of religious books, and so for him it kind of scares him because it's like, yeah, men with the power, the miraculous power to heal people like he does, it doesn't end well for them. And it's like, oh yeah, and a lot of stuff it doesn't, does it? Things in fact do end pretty bloody, which is, maybe that's meant to be ironic considering the fact that he looks down in his hands meant to heal and stuff, and he was beating out to be, not meant to be ironic, but very foreshadowing, just because he talks about things getting bloody. His hands are a little bloody from beating the crap out of Wyatt, and just him potentially being a healer, but that all happening. It's actually kind of interesting because he talks about it later on of like there's this poison in him. He even talks about the fact is it seems like it gets calmed when see what I mean? I get too many names in my head. I start mixing stuff up. When Liz is around, it seems like it quiets down. So, but for him, it's like it didn't come up again until he healed Liz. So, I mean, this can't be the first time he's healed someone. I mean, to be fair, it might be the situation of because she was dead and then he brought her back, it did something to him. Like, I'm not sure. Maybe it has some negative side effects because he crossed a line that he shouldn't, and it has that negative effect for him. Like, you know, like maybe like when people die, there's a negative energy that fills their body, and when he brought her back, he literally sucked it into his body, and so that darkness is living in him. Maybe it has all to do with Rosa, like maybe Liz coming back kind of like brought all that back, stuff that he might not have been dealing with in the past 10 years. I don't know. Because it's interesting because like now this creates this whole complicated situation because Liz, you know, Max showed her some memories of Rosa, and then it's like, oh yeah, there's her writing what was it, that thing she had written on her hand, which is apparently like a Third Eye Blind lyrics, but it was like that was written the night that she died. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. So that means Max saw her. Then she goes to Kyle, and you know, Kyle ends up talking about there's these fake autopsies and stuff like that. Because one of them had her still had her appendix, but like her appendix was removed when she was younger. It's actually also interesting too because Kyle wants nothing to do with everything that's going on with like the government and stuff about aliens and stuff like that. He wants nothing to do with it because he's coming at this from a doctor point of view rather than like an alien hunter, because he took an oath, you know, in particular, he's not ratting out Liz as being the one who has the mark. It almost seemed like the dude was actually surprised she's alive and the handprint, because it seems like anyone that has a handprint on them seems like they turn up dead potentially, because Kyle got shown one of his ancestors that had it, and obviously we see Rosa had it on her mouth, meaning someone murdered her. And now, because of all that, you know, Rosa is now thinking Max did it. Even to the point, you know, I was like, is she going to actually tell Kyle or not? I was like, no, maybe she's going to keep that to herself. But it's like, nope. She says, even though it's Max. I was like, wow. Even though she made that big promise, especially after Isabel and Michael threatened her. And even with all that, she said she never hurt, you know, Max, because she never tell the secret because she cares about it. Seems like she might not tell about Isabel and Michael, but right now she's focused on being pissed at Max, so he's kind of getting a brunt of her rage, and I guess she feels like Kyle is someone that she can confess into. But the fact of the matter is, if you put it together that Max is one, I guess that only attributes it to his siblings as well. I personally already are like, no, it's not what she thinks it is. And no shape or form did I think like Max killed her, but I think the thing is why Max hold himself responsible is maybe they got into an argument or something, and the fact of the matter is she almost died, and he tried to bring her back, but he couldn't. That's why that's why he felt the need to save Liz, because he couldn't save Rosa, so he had to make it. It's like, no, I can't fail another person in his family. Because my thought process currently is, because let's not forget, Isabel had talked about it before, about the whole aspect, because, last episode, Michael's like, oh, you're going to have to mess with her memories again, and Isabel kind of looked irked at him kind of bringing that up. So that's why I'm like, Liz was probably there that night during whatever went down. She just doesn't remember it because Isabel messed with her memories. So she actually knows the truth, but, because it's just this big puzzle. And I guess whatever went down, Max doesn't want doesn't want Liz to feel potentially responsible for, or something terrible happened and he just doesn't want her to remember it. Maybe she witnessed it or something, and he saw how devastated it was, and it was. But then it's like, whatever it was, why would it be so bad that you'd rather her think terribly of Rosa than the truth? Maybe like whatever it was, it's like, I'd rather her have good memories of her sister than potentially bad. Or which I guess maybe in the end it ended up backfiring me. Or this whole situation, the cover up and everything like that, like he might not have been even the one to he wasn't even like a cop back then. So it had to be someone in position. I'd assume their parents, because I'd assume like maybe their parents come from a pretty wealthy background or something like that. So maybe they're the ones that covered it up, or someone else did, maybe who was ever law enforcement back then. It's hard to say like what's going on with all of this. And also, because, like, obviously whatever went down then is what is the bad blood between Michael and Max. Because it seemed like, because even Isabel being like, you guys were so close, like, with everything that went down these 10 years, like, maybe you two can finally move past this. But whatever it is, it didn't sit right with Michael. Maybe it connects with Alex, too. Because there's this interesting thing when we look at, Michael looked down at his hands, and it looks like he had burn marks. But that was potentially the whole Rosa thing, too. So he might have been the one that kind of set that in motion. Like, maybe Rosa accidentally died because Max and her got into an argument, and maybe Michael, caught up in everything, might have accidentally killed her. I don't know. I don't even want to think that potentially any of them killed her, potentially, Because I feel like Max wouldn't even be... Like, yeah, he has problems with Michael, but that's mainly because Michael kind of has problems with him, because it's like, him and Isabel got a chance to kind of grow up as a family. He did. He was always kind of been the outsider, trapped in these like terrible like foster homes. Even to the point that he says it's a sad thing of like, he used to go out to that ranch, like where everything got their ship crashed and everything. And that property is being bought up by the Air Force, because they're building another facility and everything, another base and facility. But it's like, he was hoping on some level that, it's like, oh, that's the last time we saw the people we were connected to, and I was hoping they'd come back to us, but man, I was an idiot back then. And it's like, oh, that's so sad. Like, he wanted to go home because life on Earth sucked. Like, obviously, that's mainly because of the homes he was raised in. He couldn't even be with his other siblings and everything, so... And then on top of all this, once I was bringing it up earlier, the whole complicated situation between Alex and Michael, like what's really going on there? Because for him, it's like every time you look at me, I feel like that 17-year-old again until you look away, and then I'm reminded of everything that's happened these past 10 years. It's like, what happened? It seems like in particular, it's like we started something, but then they started something, but then he went off to war, and then things kind of changed there. But it's probably like, even, I don't think he was going the full 10 years. He had probably came back before then, but things were different. Maybe Michael was different. Maybe Alex was different. I'm very interested to find out. Because obviously they got to hook up together at the end there. But, because obviously for Michael, he has a reason to stay. And Alex was kind of glad. He was like, thank goodness. And he's like, even Michael being like, why are you kind of happy about me staying? It's because... Alex even talked about it with Maria, about it being like, oh, that mysterious person he kissed back then, that person kept kissing him like that, he'd never leave Roswell, which he ultimately ended up leaving anyway. So maybe, that was probably the beginning of the end, and just the beginning of just everything changing. So it's actually, because for one, there's a whole situation with, well, there's a lot to kind of like break down about this episode I forgot to talk about too. Like, apparently we found out that Liz actually had a fiance, she said they broke up, but then like Isabel and Michael were like, no, we looked on his Facebook page. He doesn't seem like he knows about that. It seems actually like you just ditched him, almost kind of being like, that's you. You kind of hop into people's lives. You kind of cause havoc. You just kind of wreck things and you just bounce. I mean, that's kind of her whole thing, because she was even not going to even stay in Roswell too long until the whole Max situation and now this whole Rosa situation. But what I think is kind of like the saddest situation about that is like I said, not only did she say she was going to protect him, but now she's kind of throwing him under the bus because of what she believes about Max. And I think it's sad because, like, obviously Max and his partner at work hook up, but, you know, you can tell he's not in it because there's his heart that still kind of beats for Liz. Because even her dad was kind of like, oh yeah, he comes in all the time, ask about you, he helped me and everything, he saved my life, but he'd also come in here every day and order tea or a drink or something, but never drink it. So what is it about Liz that's captivated him all this time that, you know, meeting her again kind of reignited what was already there? Or at the very least, it seems like even in this past 10 years, even not just meeting her again kind of reignited it seemed like it was already burning, that flame was already burning the entire time. But now you have this whole subterfuge thing where it seems like Liz is getting to know more about Max so she can figure out, because it's like she believes Max killed her. So it's not even a situation of, oh, he was the last person there. It's because of the handprint and everything. But the fact of the matter is, we know that Max isn't the only one that has that ability necessarily, because a different alien killed people in the past with the hand touch. That's why Mans is kind of telling Kyle to watch out for the hand and be wary of it and stuff like that. Even his dad warning him about it and stuff like that. So it's got to be the one that died all those years ago. Not unless there's another one around and kicking, but why wouldn't they know about it or something? So it's like I said, I think the mark was from the fact is he tried it on Rosa. I think that's what it is. Whatever went down wasn't his fault, but he tried to save her, and he's guilty. He doesn't want Liz to know, because he doesn't want Liz to know that he failed to save her, you know. So I think that's even more so why, you know, like you said, he goes above and beyond to try and protect her. So Max's feelings about Liz are about to kind of, that whole situation about to get complicated, as she's going to pretend to, you know, she pushed him away by being like, oh yeah, the handprint's going, I don't feel that way about you, because like I said, it's just been replaced by rage and, you know, and just anger and just wondering what's going on. So I'm very fascinated to see where this all goes, because that took a turn I wasn't expecting. Like, I kind of caught a glimpse of her finding out about her sister's death, but I figured it was going to tie into all that, but I didn't expect it to turn into a situation of, bam, Max is guilty and I'm going to find out the truth, essentially. So that was kind of a fascinating turn. So like I said, it's probably going to be complicated on her front too, because Liz obviously had a thing for Max, but now it's like, I had a thing for the guy that potentially killed my sister, you know. Because also, you know, it probably involves beating herself up too, because for such a long time she thought the worst of her sister, pretty much like everyone else in town. Not to the extent the rest of the town did, but still, she kind of didn't think too highly of her sister, and now she probably wants to, you know, make up for it, because it's like, you know, her sister was her best friend, and it's like, it's the least I can do to make up for, you know, how I've kind of besmirched her name all these years. Like I said, I am very interested to find out where all of this takes us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.